Patron Wizard will touch your body, and Stifle won't die. Hey everybody, how's it going? Hello and welcome to Everyday Eternal number 164, your favorite, most deceptively named bi-weekly legacy podcast. If you want to support the running of the show directly, you can support us on patreon.com/everydayeternal. As I say this, I just realized I haven't dropped the cast link to my two co-hosts. That's actually why I've been expecting them for way longer than I actually should have. Okay, we are a very professional production, I'm sure. It will only take them a couple more minutes to come in at the very least. Until then, we'll figure this out. And there's number one coming in. Hey man, how's it going?
I'm good, you okay?
Okay, you're the first one to come in. You get to decide whether you either have your body touched by Patron Wizard or you will be stifled by Stifle.
I wouldn't be stifled.
Both at the same time. That's how it works.
Yeah.
We gotta settle this once and for all, by the way, because I was listening on Kai's stream the other day, and we, even chat couldn't agree on this. There were 10 different pronunciations. How do you pronounce the card? Patron Wizard? Patron Wizard?
I'm just gonna read it again. It's
right there in the show
I
notes.
know. I'm scrolling down. Patron Wizard.
Patron Wizard.
Patron. I say patron.
Patron. Okay, that sounds good. Hey Kai, how's it going? We just figured out it's actually called Patron Wizard because your chat couldn't agree how to pronounce it.
Oh, I thought it's Patreon Wizard. but I think this is
there's no E in there.
Yeah, this guy came out before Patreon, so
yeah, guys, if you want to support us, you can become a Patreon Wizard for sure. We have Patreon.
Dude,
what do you have? There was Secrets, Thalia, Eternity, and Grizzlebrand here. Maybe there's a secret Patreon Wizard. I love that.
We really should do that. You really should add that to the homepage, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll talk more about that card and also about Stifle and how it's just the next big thing.
Wait, these aren't legacy cards, are they?
Kind of there's some cards that just won't die, and then we got crazy, old tech in that case coming in, even though I guess Patron Wizard never really was a tech in Legacy, was it? Guys,
you know what? There's 10 people around the world getting pissed off with you right now.
yeah, they're having the headaches. But actually, we had somebody getting really pissed off because I actually last episode we gotta issue a correction. We don't do it like these shady newspapers who have to. I don't know if that's a thing in other countries, but in Germany, if a newspaper gets something incorrect and they get sued for it, then they have to print a correction, and they usually do it on page 517 on the bottom right, font size 2, and they're okay, we were wrong, this is actually how it works. And last episode I said Netrunner was the second game ever designed by Richard Garfield. Yeah, somebody lost their mind and oh god, don't ever listen to this podcast again, because it's actually the third game ever designed by Richard Garfield.
Oh well, I stopped listening to the podcast after that.
Yeah.
I just checked out the episode. I was I'm done.
No. So credit you. The second game ever designed was oh my god, I think it's Vampire the Masquerade or something. You know the funniest part is I almost wanted to bring it up because I knew that he also designed a game called Vampire, but I just could think of this
Well, if you get the name wrong now, you're gonna have to correct yourself next episode. So
actually,
do you want to get it right?
Check that. Vampire the Masquerade could also be some kind of soft porn or something. Vampire the Masquerade.
Wait, didn't they also release?
Fuck! It's a video game. No, wait, it's a pen and paper role playing game. By a company called White Wolf, which sounds scarily racist. Right. I don't know. Okay, now White Wolf is gonna hate on us. I guess. Okay, you can never do it right. But yeah, Vampire the Masquerade, second game ever produced, and yeah, here we are. Maybe we'll branch out into other card games. I don't know. Guys, how are you? How is life?
I'm pretty good. I actually just got my legacy mojo back this last week. I've been playing a ton of leagues. I played the challenge yesterday and did terribly, but I did better than Kai, but I did really badly.
Okay, and that's a pretty low benchmark, right?
It's true. Sorry.
Piss off, come on.
But I've been just playing tons of leagues. Just having the Warhammer cards online now has just got the not really the fire. I didn't lose excitement for the game or anything, but it was just the format feels more complete now. So I've just been griefed a lot. It's great.
Yeah. People are grieving you with grief. That sounds exciting. What did you play yesterday? If you played, I think you didn't play Painter, right?
No, so I played I think we just I've been kind of referring to it as just like Cauldron because it's like a mono red or black red Cauldron deck. But the Painter Discord has started calling it Goblin Soup, which I think is really cute because it's like a cauldron and goblins go in and out of it. So I think that's really cute. But it's the Agatha Soul Cauldron plus Goblin Engineer plus Phyrexian Devourer. We talked about that on like in a Bomberman episode. This is the main combo, but outside of that, you just have like lots of welder shenanigans. You're playing the new broadside bombardiers to throw big things at people's faces and stuff, and it's cool. It's I'm still learning the deck, honestly. Like I'm still learning how to build it. I'm trying tons of different versions, different splashes, different configurations, and like as with anything like this, I'm just losing a lot and like. I'm making plays like I keep playing Goblin Engineer thinking right I'm going to go and get a Phyrexian Dragon Engine here and like I forgot to put it in this version of the deck and stuff.
You don't even have Phyrexian Dragon Engine?
I forgot to put it in the challenge yesterday. I've got like 10 different versions in Magic Online, so you just forget to put something in sometimes. But like I love this period of like just finding out about things and just playing tons of different versions and just working things out. And I'm kind of drifting back to Painter as well. I played a couple of Painter leagues because
is Painter good again?
I think it's good. There's really like I think I'm drifting back to mono red because with broadside bombardiers the deck can be a little bit more aggressive. I don't know. It's cool. Like having Chaos Defiler is so good. It just you get to play it and it's just great.
5 mana drop in Legacy. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean like it gives you the welder into engineer draws and stuff. And,
of course.
Which
yeah.
You just really miss and things. So the format's feeling way more. Just complete again, so I've been really, really enjoying it. Yeah, great fun.
And are you going to play 4 Seasons? Because I heard you might not.
No, I'm not 4 Seasons because I'm going to Italy on Friday to see Kai. We're going skiing, which we're very lucky to with some Italian friends. But then 4 Seasons is the following weekend. But I'm already going for a family holiday in France the following week, so I'm going to stay in Italy working remotely.
You're just going to do another winter season, like 4 Seasons skiing and then skiing again. It's like, oh my god,
I mean, if 4 Seasons will come to France to the Alps, I'll play there. But yeah,
okay, maybe talk to them. Maybe we have like 500 people relocate or something. Yeah, so that sounds about right. And Kai, you are going to 4 Seasons, but this time not as a you are not going as an artist, right? At least not with a booth.
Yeah, for
what happened?
I think it's the second time that I go to that event without a booth. And I'm kind of relieved because it's not as stressful as always. And the main reason is honestly, like it's kind of simple. I can't take everything with me because we are on the skiing trip first, and you need a lot of stuff to take with you on a skiing trip. And then you have your decks. And if I also have to add like my whole booth to it, and I don't think we can fit all that in a car. I don't think so.
You might as well take like the helicopter or something.
Yeah, seriously.
The everyday eternal helicopter.
Well, maybe I can like ski. I can like ski down to Italy.
That'd be so cool. It's nice to mix it up as well.
All the way to Bologna, easy.
Yes, like one giant mountain, yeah.
But it's nice to mix it up for you, right? Like, do the booth and then play a bit and like go off and on.
Oh yeah, totally. I also made like a new shirt. I got one printed. It's like this baseball jersey thing, but it says like tokens from player to player, and it also displays like one of my newest tokens on the front and the back. To make it easier for people to, get in touch with me between rounds, maybe. I'm going to have my binder with me and a couple of tokens, right? But
you know what you should do? You should have a thing where you have like all your tokens on your back, and then people can like, I don't know, put stickers on them with their email address, and somehow they won't fall off, and that's how they can like order the tokens or something.
Oh shit!
I mean, there's probably something in there. Don't do it like I just described it, but you get the idea.
Oh my!
Just put up a big poster, and like people can like put in pieces of paper with their email address, and then they just PayPal you and something like that. I don't know.
People. Yeah, I'm happy if people just slap me. That's good.
Just randomly like give you money.
They can also slap me without a sticker.
That's probably gonna be pretty easy from what I've seen last night when I watched your stream.
Dude,
you got destroyed, man.
Yeah, dude.
I couldn't believe that you actually ended up winning 2 matches.
I seriously, like, I'm like, I'm about to sell my whole Legacy collection. Please, someone, sell me your burn deck. I'm like,
I've been telling you,
I was
like
so
Treefolk burn, it's real.
Dude, I'm telling you, I was so devastated yesterday because I was kind of high on my current 75. I was like, yeah, I got this brand new like Miscut Bayou. I really want to play in this Doomsday deck, and like I kept talking to Martin Nielsen about Doomsday, like this whole time, and we had like everything prepped and blah blah blah, and then I entered this challenge and I got. I don't even got crushed. It was devastating, man. Like I didn't stand a chance against really anyone.
What did you play against? Just
basically the whole menu, really. Like
I'll get you the whole
yeah. Like I won versus Grixis Delver. So I was on Buck Doomsday, right? So and with the One Rings and. So I won versus Grixis Delver, then I lost to Grixis Delver, then I lost to Goblins, and I won versus 8-cast Painter. I lost to regular Painter. No, actually, scratch it. I lost to Callum and your non-Painter deck.
Yeah.
And then I lost against Moonstompy, and then I also lost the final round versus Buck Beanstalk. And I was 2-5, and I don't think I've ever finished 2-5 in a Legacy Challenge. And maybe that just reminds me of how grateful I should probably be. Because there might be a lot of people who regularly go 2-5.
If you also isolate these matchups and like look at them, okay, you won against Grixis Delver, great. You lost against Grixis Delver, that's quite normal. Right. And then like the Goblins deck is probably just as fast as you, and they have the option to like side into some hate if they want, whereas you don't really have the hate. You're just trying to be as fast as them.
Totally.
Moonstompy's super volatile. Painter is a pretty bad matchup if I was playing Painter. And I think you could, like, watching the games back, I think you totally could have won if you just had the information that I wasn't playing Painter. You would have definitely beaten me. Like, that's just a weird thing. I was playing a newer deck, which is not, like, established yet and stuff. So all of these, like, matchups isolated are quite swingy. So I think you could have easily been 5-2 as well. It's sometimes just those days happen. Right?
Honestly, I wouldn't read too much into that. Like, I only got to watch the last rounds where you got destroyed and didn't win a single game. But then again, like, if you like your list and you kind of want to play it, I wouldn't switch from there just because of that result.
I agree.
Would you guys put Goblins, Moonstompy, and your Soul Cauldron deck into like one basket? Like, is it?
No, not at all. Goblins is like a combo deck. It's like it can kill turn 2, turn 3. It's much more like I will board in Mind Break Trap against that deck. My deck is much more mid-rangey. It's got a combo, like it can kill turn 2, turn 3, but it's very similar to Painter, really. Like Null Rods are good against it. It's a combo deck that uses the graveyard and artifacts. So similar to Painter. And then Moonstompy is a prison deck against you anyway. So they're 3 different ones. All of them all mono red, basically. It's weird.
Yeah.
I guess your deck is just like not good against red in the first place.
I should have phrased like the question like differently, right? Because from a combo player's perspective, I think all 3 decks are somewhat similar because they all present. First of all, they start with Ancient Tomb, right? And they have somewhat of a prison style start. Like, the Goblin player usually starts with like some sort of like maybe Magus of the Moon or like a Chalice or something like that, like before they go Muxus, right? Or the Moonstompy deck usually doesn't play Fable of the Mirror Breaker turn 1. It rather goes like Blood Moon on turn 1 or Chalice, right?
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
No. Like so like from a combo player's perspective, these play patterns are somewhat similar, I think, and it almost doesn't matter if my opponent finishes with, let's say, like an Initiative, Caves of Chaos Adventurer, or like a Muxus, or the Painter combo, right? Like, this is like the second step, right, basically, after the present piece.
Now you frame it like that, I agree. They have very similar play patterns. Like, I would be looking to, I don't know your exact list from yesterday, but my first instinct is you want Force of Negations, and you want, like, a basic island and Hydroblast with Lorien revealed. That's my first instinct.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I was thinking about subtleties. Like a lot of them.
You keep bringing them up all the time, and I never really see them do anything impressive. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Like, you play this deck way more than I do. But every time, like, Doomsday players bring up subtlety, I'm like, eh. It's really like it doesn't feel exciting, honestly.
I've got your list now, and you have 3 Lorien revealed and no basic islands and no Hydroblasts. Do you think that's a direction to try?
Like how often does that realistically happen, though? Like that you get that? I mean, okay, you can get that island, but
because once you get the island, you can then cast your cantrips and stuff, and then like that's the Hydroblast for a moon if you need to, or you just counter their other lot pieces or whatever. I don't know. Seems good to me, but I don't play this deck.
I was going to say it's so-and-so against Goblins, but actually it's not, because you can still kill the Sticker Goblin.
Yeah. You kill it with the trigger on the stack and it stops it.
Yeah,
totally. I also got to say that I was way higher on subtlety before, when Initiative was much more like, dominant in Legacy. I feel like the Initiative Stompy is still up there, but like Goblins is just so much better at doing the initiative thing, I think.
What I've seen from like the Moon Stompy players is they say Goblins is a really bad matchup, and that seems to probably carry over to Initiative as well, where Goblins have so many hasters, they go over the top because Muxus is just so powerful. So it feels like Turbo Muxus is kind of pushing out the Initiative, and
that's a fair point. Yeah. It's always like that, right? Like the prison deck's like the best deck is the one that can actually put a lot of stuff on the field.
Yeah, I think Goblins you've got to absolutely respect it. It's a top tier deck now. So like I'm playing 2 Pyrokinesis in my sideboard over Furies, for example, because the instant speed is very important.
Yeah. I think you have to respect it a lot.
Yeah.
I was just curious the other day, and I looked. The other day is like earlier today. I looked on MTG Top 8. Usually I don't look at the last 2 weeks, but it felt like there were so many things changing up lately that I just had them calculate the metagame for the last 2 weeks, and that's what I posted in here. And out of all the aggro decks, for example, Initiative is just in shared 7th place out of all the aggro decks. And Goblins is the second most prominent aggro deck. Like you got Grixis aggro, or I guess Grixis Delver deck, I would call it, in first place. Then you have Goblins in second place out of all the aggro decks.
Yeah.
8%. And like when you account for Reanimator, okay, that's the most played deck of I guess most played and most placing deck of the last 2 weeks at 13%, which is already a ton. But then Goblins is the third best placing deck in Legacy right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that. But Callum, you really opened my eyes to it, because I didn't really think about it that way until just now. But it actually is a combo deck. Like,
Yeah,
I've been complaining about how often it kills me, like even turn 2. And I mean, that's pretty real. Like,
It's
slow belcher, kind of.
It like the turn 2 is rare. Like it's still going to be, like
Yeah. I mean, once you also count, like basically, you can also sometimes like count the turn 2s that are basically dead, where it puts you like to 2 life and then pass the turn.
That's true. And like turn 3 is quite consistent or realistic. But then at the same time, it can just go like Mountain Go, Cavern, play a Goblin, and then against the fair decks and stuff. And then Muxus just being like a very hard castable 6-drop through Cavern is quite a problem. So it's a really, really damn good deck. It's kind of slept a little bit. Like it's gone under the radar a little bit, I think, in circles of just people talking. I think the grinders on Magic Online especially do respect it, but it's not got like the hype as another new deck will kind of
It's
get.
kind of funny that there's always this delay when talking about decks that do really well on Magic Online, and then once your friends who usually don't like consume a lot of like Twitter or whatever, Reddit or podcasts even, and then at some point, like a couple of weeks later, they start bringing it up. Like, hey, Julian, did you see this deck? Hey, check this one out. Oh my God, Goblins is so good. And it's like a couple of weeks after it started making the rounds on Magic Online. And that's where you start feeling, oh, this is like manifesting itself as like a proper deck in the meta, not just like some random brew that somebody tried.
I guess this one is weird because it had, because obviously Sticker Goblin wasn't on Magic Online for a while. So it had the first success in paper. But I think it actually then like continued to see a fair bit of play in paper. Before Magic Online, whereas even with the Warhammer cards, we've got Defiler and Painter, we've got Triumph of St. Catherine doing pretty well in some paper events, but like because the feedback and like the results from paper is so much less than Magic Online, you don't really know. You're just like, when at the beginning with Chaos Defiler, people were saying, "Is it really good?" And I'm like, I don't really know. Like I can't play enough. I'm not sure. I don't have the confidence to say it. But like Goblins players picked it up pretty fast, and I saw a lot of the Turbo Muxus decks in paper and continuously while the Sticker Goblin wasn't on Magic Online. And it then came on Magic Online and it was still slow to pick up. And now it's really starting to see more play in both and get better and better.
Do you think Sticker Goblin is better in paper or on Magic Online?
It's better on Magic Online. Quite differently.
Think so.
Just by the numbers, it's better online because in paper you can hit like 4/4/5 and you know that you're never getting the 6. Playing it on Magic Online is a little bit harder, could be a little bit more frustrating because sometimes you have to just like go for the 5 or 6 and sometimes you hit the 4. It's random. But like in paper, on Magic Online, you can play it, hit a 6, and then hit another 6 off another one that you hit off that and stuff. Or like it's you get more mana on Magic Online, so it is just straight up better on Magic Online, but it's more random. So it's
I believe it's a little easier to play in paper because you already know what you're gonna get, so you can sequence accordingly.
Yeah.
But then again, like once you account for the randomness on Magic Online, I think overall, once it levels out, I agree. I think it's better the way it's programmed on Magic Online, but ever so slightly just.
Yeah. But I think you get more out of it. You get more mana out of it enough that it's worth it for the randomness. But yeah, I've played a few leagues with it and like, gone for it thinking I need a 5 or a 6. I've got an extra Simian Spirit Guide in hand, and you hit the 4 and you're like, well, okay, I'll play
play my 2/2 or whatever it is, like pass.
The thing is, it's usually just like a Rabble Master instead, which is still quite good.
Okay.
And what's actually insane is the Battle Cry Goblin. I know we did an episode a while ago where we were saying how good this card is, but
It's so good.
the card is wild in that deck. Like, because of all the extra mana and Skirt Prospectors, you're just like, okay, I didn't get what I wanted, but I'm gonna attack you for 17 on turn 2. Okay.
I was gonna say, right?
Yeah.
How often have you been there where you pass the turn, they have literally an empty board, and you're sitting on 16 life, and you're like, okay, like what's the worst that could happen? You press F6, you walk away, you come back, you're dead. Like the side spotting screen pops up, you're like, what?
And it's like you're on 2 life, but they also have like 7 creatures, and they're all going to make 1/1s when they attack as well. It's just like, God.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. So,
but by the way, you guys wonder, is that part of like why we see so much Stifle again? Like we already saw it. Like I wanna say in the Eternal Weekend winning list, and one of the Eternal Weekend winning lists, I think we saw like 2 copies or something like that. Oh no, it was the runner-up, right? The
can't quite remember, I'll be honest. Oh yeah, it was Jay. I've forgotten his surname.
Wojciechowski.
Yeah, that's it. He had a 2 or 3, and I remember him saying they were really, really good.
Yeah, and I see them everywhere now. Like I looked at a couple of lists, like we were going to talk about the God of Legacy in a moment, and the Legacy Showcase Challenge, and in a top of the top placing lists, I see like 2 to 3 copies all everywhere.
I'm going to be honest. I don't trust enough that there's like a rhyme or a reason. Like I can see it being good in and out, but I don't. I think it's kind of a card that's just like, okay, so if it's not been played much, you'll play 2 or 3 because it'll kind of get people. And
that's a conventional wisdom thing, though.
I know
you
it is.
Play into it, like even with Fetch Lands, you will often just play into it.
Yeah.
And even at the very least, like on the opponent's upkeep or something. But like you will not play your Sticker Goblin just because your opponent represents Stifle, and that's like some very specific situation.
But at the same time, like currently, if we're saying this blue-black Rescaminator deck is like the top dog, I wouldn't want to have Stifle against that deck. So
there's nothing you really want to Stifle against them, right?
No, it's like there's lots of targets, but it's all kind of like it's not worth the chance of just top decking Stifle in this kind of attrition of resources.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, isn't the main reason for Stifle also to be to Stifle like the Leyline binding? It's somewhat like of a spell pierce effect, right? Like you see it mostly in tempo decks, and like they gotta fight through all these removal spells, and it's actually quite nice that you have such a 1 mana clean answer to probably the most played removal spell right now. Like it's
other than swords,
I think it's actually pretty good. Like it does stop removal, so it's like it's a spell pierce slot. It also counters
Cascade.
That's Oracle, Muxus, Atraxa. There's almost not a single creature in Legacy right now that doesn't have an ETB or activated ability at this point, right? Even Murktide.
I mean,
now we're reaching, dude. I wanna see you pull that off and like win a tournament that way.
I still feel like you could pull up almost any Legacy metagame and be like, hey, here's loads of reasons to play Stifle. Like it's always gonna have fetch lands, obviously. I understand that, but there's probably some. I'm gonna not say every single one, but like there's always gonna be like planeswalkers or creatures with abilities and stuff.
Planeswalkers are pretty dead, I would say. Like
maybe
like we don't really do planeswalkers in Legacy anymore.
That's true.
We have
like
we have fourth Erlingers. Like that's pretty much what we do, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
fourth Erlingers killed all the planeswalkers, not because it kills it, but just because it's better.
I just don't see. I don't see a difference between now. I'm not saying Stifle now is bad, but I don't see a difference now to like lots of other metagames where there's just plenty of Stifle targets.
I mean, the thing is, like, also, like, we don't really get to Stifle a lot of, like, combo decks. Like, usually combo decks are pretty vulnerable to Stifle. It was, like, another Forceful almost.
I mean, Tendrils has always been there, and, like...
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. But I don't think that really is a deck anymore right now.
I mean, it's like, if you're saying it's good against Thassa's Oracle, it was good against Tendrils when Tendrils was the win con of, like, Storm decks. And I think the Rescaminator decks are kind of just really, really punishing combo at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Like that's what I'm talking about. There's like really not a lot of combo decks where Stifle is good against.
Oh, so you're arguing against Stifle now?
No, I'm neither for nor against it. Like basically, okay. If you want my honest opinion, I think people are just playing Stifle because it's a cool card to play, and everybody's always looking for an excuse to play it.
That's pretty much where I land. I'll be honest. We're in complete agreement now. I'm saying people are playing it because it's not bad. It's really like not bad, but I think people are playing it because it's not bad. And
Stifle is the kind of card that makes you feel big brain when it works.
Yeah,
like
I mean, that's a very good selling point.
Yeah, like once you have dazed like your opponent's spell in the crack of a fetch land to pay and you stifle that, that's like boom, peak Legacy to me. It's like so old school too, right? And it almost doesn't matter how good or bad the cards are in current Legacy. Like this technique will always work out because Legacy is and probably always will be a fetch land, dual land format, right? For the most part. So
we say that now, but it's kind of funny, right? We talked about these Surveil Lands on the last episode and how we think they're actually pretty good, and I think that they actually did become a thing in Legacy, right?
They're insane. They're so good. I love them.
Something Stifle. There we go.
You can stifle the Surveil. Let's go.
One final little quick point on Stifle. I think the Delver decks are like way more aggressive than they've been since like Expressive Iteration and stuff. So Stifle is better in tempo and aggressive versions. So it makes more sense there.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Even though where I actually see it the most is like mid-range decks, like all these like I don't know, they don't even have proper names, like anything Beanstalk even sometimes. Or I guess we will also get to we get to talk about the Wizard Oracle in a moment. Yeah, cool. That was something else. But yeah, Kai, you played with the Surveil Lands, right? Callum, did you also get to play with some of the Surveil Lands?
I've not yet, but I've been watching lots of people stream it and stuff, and they are really, really good.
So I think like these lands were absolute sleepers in almost all formats. I guess in Standard Pioneer, like people probably picked them up immediately, but like the enters the battlefield tap clause was such a downer, I think, for most people, that like the card was also not that expensive, right, at the beginning, I think.
How can it be sleepers when even we talked about it?
Like there was also like nothing else exciting from that new set.
Dude, I don't even know. Is that like Murders at Call of Manor or something? That sort?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like all in all, I think this set is like semi interesting for Legacy. There's not a lot of playables for Legacy in particular, but the Surveil Lands, they just like, I think people just need a little bit of time to acknowledge how powerful those new play patterns are, because they kind of lead to new play patterns that we are not really used to, right? Mm-hmm. Like cracking fetch lands in very strange situations. For example, like I had it like recently where my opponent cast like a Murktide Regent, and I had like a Force of Will and a pitch card and a Dark Ritual, right? So I was in Doomsday, and then in response to the Murktide, I cracked my fetch land, got the Undercity Sewers, surveilled, and the top card was a Doomsday, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I don't counter the Murktide and rather use my Force of Will to protect my Doomsday, right? Like those kind of play patterns are now live, and they are absolute real.
They're really cool.
And
sorry, yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, like and also like and some other things. Like for example, my first statement also when I saw these were, okay, this land is absolute garbage in combination with Daze, for example, right? Because why do you ever want to pick up a land that ETB is tapped, right? But it's great, dude. It's so good. Oh my goodness, it's so insane. I want to play more of them, really.
There's this player who plays locally called Nick, and he's got his own brew, which is absolutely awesome with them. It's green-black Reanimator, but it has the Chain of Smog and whatever the creature is called, forgotten. And
Witherbloom Apprentice, yeah?
Yeah, Witherbloom Apprentice. So he's playing Worldly Tutor. So with Worldly Tutor can go and get the Witherbloom, or with Surveil Lands, you cast Worldly Tutor with the trigger on the stack, and it's like 8 Entombs then, because you play Entombs as well. So you got... Yeah, it's really cool, and he crushed me last week.
This is Entomb from Wish.
This is like Entomb at home. Holy smokes, dude!
But like at the same time, when we played, he was like, "Oh, I need to find some actions, so you just go and get them and you surveil and look for action."
Seriously, like I see the idea, because it basically gives you 8 Entombs, and Entombs is usually like it says something that against like classical blue-black Reanimator, or even against black-red Reanimator, Entomb was actually the card to counter. And like not a lot of other cards, not a lot of situations. So having 8 Entombs, I very much see the idea. I just love the thought. Like you sit down for a Legacy tournament, somehow you haven't heard about these new Surveil Lands because you don't listen to Everyday Eternal, and then like your opponent goes like, a Worldly Tutor, Undercity Sewers, put my creature in the bin, and you sit there, you're like, okay, this is gonna be an easy round, and then they crush you.
Yeah, well,
because it seems like such a kiddie tech.
You've got to also do it in like a really cute way. You've got to fetch, put the Surveil trigger on the stack, and then respond to it with the Worldly Tutor. Because otherwise you shuffle. But it's cool because it doubles up as like the Chain of Smog combat card, right? Because it finds the Witherbloom Apprentice, and then it finds like sideboard creatures to like what's the Leyline, the killer, like the evoke elemental that kills a disenchant. Like it finds these sideboard cards to deal with hate as well. It's just a really cool idea, I think.
I think it's like two reasons why this is actually good, and Temple of Enlightenment and all these like Theros cards are not good. First of all, Surveil is better than Scry. I think we pretty much all agree on that. Mm-hmm. And second, and I mean that's I guess the obvious part, is this one has the land types, the basic land types. So you can actually fetch it like it's a tactical tool in your arsenal later. Like for example, later in the game when both players are top decking, you draw a fetch land. That's usually horrible. But now all of a sudden you get a scry or Surveil, in those situations doesn't matter all that much unless you find like I don't know, an Uro, if that's still a card in Legacy. It's kind of dead now almost. Yeah. But it just like having the one-off in your deck, it's just like so good because we have the fetch lands and we can access it at basically any time. It makes it so that whenever you're like top decking, or even if you have the spare mana, like if you can afford to fetch a tap land, you're just gonna get a free Surveil out of there. And we already know how far like an extra card goes in Legacy. But even just like scrying or surveilling is already like pretty good.
Yeah, totally. Like I have like something like a good news and bad news about this card, right? Like the good news is that people don't have to also invest a lot of money into Legacy anymore, because like they don't have to buy 4 Volcanics or 4 Underground Seas anymore. Like it can be like 3 Underground Seas and 1 Undercity Sewers, for example, and it would not weaken the deck at all, but you save a lot of money, for example, especially for new players, right?
Depends on the deck, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe it does. I'm giga fan of Underground Sea, and I just play 4 Underground Seas and 1 Undercity Sewers. But this card
we're talking about Doomsday now, right?
Yeah. And it can be really any deck, but even like a soup deck, 4-color soup, can maybe cut. You don't even have to buy like the 2nd or 3rd tropical island, but maybe you play like the blue-green version of the Surveil Land instead. So
you actually, we already talked about this. You actually see this like as a 1-off or 2-off in tempo decks?
In tempo decks, I don't know, but like the slower your deck is, like the better, I think.
Like mid-rangey tempo decks, like the kind of deck that would like not play Diver but still have like days and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Like imagine if you go like end of turn, I don't know, you crack fetch and get the Simic Surveil Land, and then you surveil down an Uro, for example. That's nuts, right?
Tasty.
Stuff like that. The bad news about this card is that I think this is now the ultimate, basically, banishing of Preordain from Legacy. I like if
really?
People, I think so. Like why would you want to play Preordain if you have access to Undercity Sewers, for example?
I never considered them the same slot.
Yeah,
like
Preordain, I don't know. That doesn't line up to
cards.
me. I don't know.
Yeah,
let me put it this way: like, why would you want to fetch for an Underground Sea and then cast Preordain if you could also just fetch for Undercity Sewers?
Because Preordain is so better, but you also have to pay mana for it.
And it's a blue card for small count.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, but I'm not entering that shit.
Like I had this situation a couple times now where it's like I think I'd rather just keep mana open and end of turn I fetch for that Surveil trick instead of.
Oh, so you're saying because this is an instant speed effect with a fetch land.
Exactly. Okay, yeah. Like I'm not comparing Undercity Sewers like from your hand tap, but like rather like a fetch land, fetching into Undercity in comparison.
Okay, now we're much closer.
To be fair to you, Preordain is not really played in Legacy as well. It's like
what about the Preordain
it's
podcast,
already
guys?
dead. Oh, no.
Weren't there some plans for that?
With the Serum Visions podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So we already saw it coming. We had some Serum Visions.
At some point we're gonna be like the Surveil podcast, I tell you.
The Surveil podcast doesn't sound too bad.
I think, is it just Doomsday that plays it basically?
Undercity Sewers?
No, Preordain.
Yeah, everyone's
and I mean, right? Sneak and Show, right? Our good old friend Sneak and Show, no?
Well, I'm not even sure if they, like, maybe some, but I think it's not part of the stock list, really.
No, I don't think it is.
How are we so up to date on Sneak and Show these days?
Well, that's not that hard, right? You just check out our chat.
Oh, dude, I just took, yeah. Oh, wow, they don't play Preordain anymore.
Kai, you're so stuck in the past.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, every time there's a big crash on Sneak Show, like JPA just goes back to playing like the full playset Simian Spirit Guides, 4 days, like no nonsense, and then like he makes top 8, then he loses again, and then he starts playing.
He does that the full week after any new BNR.
Yeah, pretty
every
much
time.
Right?
And then it's either when Delver's the best, he'll play that for a bit and then give up. But after a BNR, he'll do that, and then when Control's good, he'll play Flusses and Pierce's main. That's the MO.
Right on.
It works. Cool. It works because he just wins everything the week after a BNR.
Guys, I got another question. So I've heard about this whole Leyline of the Guildpact thing. I've even played against it now. what are your thoughts on this? First of all, why is this good? Why are we willing to go down a card to get this effect? And for those who don't know, by the way, Leyline of the Guildpact, oh my god, I dreaded this moment where I have to say the mana cost. So the mana cost is basically four hybrid mana. Each of them is 1/2 green, and the other half is, well, the remaining 4 colors.
Can you tell us the order of these, please?
I would guess it's in no, it's, oh my god, white, black,
no,
red.
White,
blue, black, red. That's how it works.
Okay, I needed to know exactly. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, it's right there. Okay.
I know.
Okay, you can.
I'm just winding you up.
You can basically pay 4 green for it. You can also pay a green, a blue, a black, and you can pay almost any combination of mana in it. But only green can repeat. Is that the way to program this? Anyway, we figure this out. Yeah, actually, that's the best way to put it. So what does this card do? It's a Leyline enchantment. You can put it into play at the beginning of the match if you want to. Each non-land permanent you control is all colors. And most importantly, this is not the, I get immediately killed by Painter thing, because it's only non-land permanents you control, which means only stuff that's in play. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to other types. So that also counts fetch lands, I guess. And it's also only your lands. You don't get to choke your opponent. You don't get to Carpet of Flowers your opponent, as we talked about last episode. So this is the ultimate card of everything Julian hates, because it turns your deck into a soup deck. Like, mana doesn't matter anymore. All of your lands are City of Brass without the extra life gain. Like, is this worth it? Is this what people are playing this for? Except for, I guess there's another one combo tech that we talk about in a moment.
Go on, Kai, what's your experience with it?
So, I mean, this is super hot in Modern right now, just because of the Scion of Draco combo, and also because of Leyline bonding, just being like a 1-mana removal spell as soon as turn 1. I think that's pretty appealing. I gotta say, like, maybe it's a little too early to say this, but I don't see a future for this card in Legacy because of 2 reasons. The first reason is there's Pyroblast. And the second reason is there's Hydroblast. It dies to all blasts, man. Like, yeah, how is that gonna stick around? I don't see it.
Yeah, so I played it.
I'm not even sure. I would spend a blast on killing that.
No,
Man, you said it yourself. Then this card is not worth it.
But the thing is, it like makes all your permanents in play blastable, right? All the non-lands.
Oh shit! Yeah, that too.
But
they're gonna blast your
hilarious.
stuff. They're gonna blast all your stuff, and then they're gonna blast this Leyline.
until enter Scion of Draco. So I think people will know this already. It's as you said, a thing in Modern. But Scion of Draco, it costs 12 mana. It's an artifact creature. It's a 4/4. It has Domain. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each basic land type among the lands you control. So if you have a Leyline in play, it's going to cost 10 less because you've got one land is every single land type. So it'll cost 2 mana. It's for a 4/4 flying, and then each creature you control has Vigilance if it's white, Hexproof if it's blue, Lifelink if it's black, First Strike if it's red, and Trample if it's green. With a Leyline in play, that means every creature is every color. So all your creatures are going to have Vigilance, Hexproof, Lifelink, First Strike, and Trample. So if you have the Leyline in play and a Scion in play, all your creatures have Hexproof. So you won't be able to blast anything until you blast the Leyline first. I played against the deck a few times now in Legacy, like 3-ish times, and I wasn't super impressed with it. I think I lost 1 or 2. Like, a turn 2 Scion of Draco is no joke. It's a creature that's got hexproof, and it does put a 5-turn clock on you, or like less when they bring other things in. I played against a couple of the version, like with Rhinos, like a straight Modern port, and you get loads of Spirit Guides and like more forces and pitch spells and stuff. It feels very similar to the Rhinos deck. It felt less consistent. It was more susceptible to flooding out. Like, I'd play a game and they would like Leyline binding a bunch of things, and like they have the Beanstalks, which Modern doesn't as well. So sometimes they just kind of go off and you lose that way. But they do rely on like things lining up right in the top decks in the middle of the game. And so a deck with higher synergy or better cantrips will probably beat them there. And I don't know. At the same time, a 2-mana 4/4 with all those abilities is quite slow if you're trying to like face combo decks as well. So I think combo decks could probably beat this deck quite well. So yeah, I don't see it really staying on in Legacy either. It's kind of cute, and the power level's almost there just because Leyline and Beanstalk are pretty strong, but I don't think you need the Leyline of the Guildpact. Leyline Binding, sorry. Leyline Binding and Beanstalk are good, but the Leyline of the Guildpact and Scion of Draco, I think are just not quite good enough, really. Yeah, that's my experience.
Like, I only played against it, I think, once or twice, and it didn't really convince me. Like, the Scion was pretty cute, but you already mentioned, right? It's quote unquote just a 4/4. So even though you can't target it, you can just like sometimes, but you can even just like trade one or double block with 2, I don't know, like Dragon Rage Channelers, and of course that opens you up to removal, but or have a bigger Murktide, or literally just like outrace it.
It does have first strike.
Oh, that's the first strike?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. See,
But-
I would have lost both of my creatures. Perfect, Julian. You
But-
should play more Magic.
It doesn't beat a Murktide.
It doesn't beat a Murktide, that's
No,
true.
it
that's
has
true.
Vigilance and Lifelink. So
It's
you
like
can't.
super hard to beat, that's true.
So like you can't really always race it with a Murktide. Sometimes you can if you have things ahead. Like the amazing thing about Murktide, we don't need to really talk about this very much, but like you can just sit back and neither of you attacking until you draw your second one, and then you attack them for 12 with the first one, and they're dead in the swing back, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's another good reason. A 5/5 Murktide just like says, "Come at me, bro." So yeah.
I'm not on board with this like being a thing in Legacy as well, right? Just because like if this was somehow an effect you could get from the very start for nothing, I mean, yeah, we're dreaming now, but then that's pretty good. But these decks usually can afford to not be able to sort the Plowshares, or rather like Leyline Binding on the first turn, because they fetch, I don't know, their Tri-Home, and then they fetch something else, and then they Leyline Binding on the second turn, I believe that would work. So I don't think they really, like what they get out of giving up the card is not really worth it, what they get in response in a lot of games, compared against like the opportunity cost of all of this, right? It's not like this exists in a vacuum. You also have to cut cards for it. And, you know, there are many games you won't have Leyline, or you only get to cast it as soon as like turn 4 or 5.
Absolutely.
And then you sit on a couple of like cards that are not that great. Or I guess only Scion of Draco, really.
I've also seen like someone streaming it and they've top decked 2 or 3 Leylines in the mid game every few turns, and yeah, it's just bad. I mean, it's really nice. A part of the appeal of it is like it pitches to anything, so you can play Force of Will and Fury and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, having too many pitch cards can be a problem if you don't have Beanstalk in play to recoup the cards. So the deck just needs a bunch of things to go right. And it doesn't need everything to go right, but it needs enough of them to go right. And your opponent like isn't trying to like doomsday you and stuff. So, and if like just not enough things go right, you just fall behind on cards and you have bad top decks. Like sometimes I was playing like Bug of the Beanstalk. Up the Beanstalk with like Cascade for the Beanstalks and stuff with like loads of pitch elementals. And sometimes you're there with like a Solitude and a Fury and a Leyline Binding, but you've been wastelanded a couple of times and you just can't do anything really. It's just like, So, yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
I don't think...
Like, yeah, maybe the conclusion is that like it's not completely unplayable. Like people... You can definitely pick it up, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think, like, you know, you're gonna have a lot of crazy games with like, you know, a lot of combat and this and that and racing and so on, and like having like a pseudo like true nemesis with lifelink and first strike and whatnot is kind of cool, right? Like that's what people enjoy to play. Yeah, but it's not particularly good versus combo is maybe what we want to emphasize.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm also, as much as I love to wind Julian up about 5-color like mid-range decks and Astrolabe and Blood Moon and stuff,
Oh, my favorite decks.
I think this deck is so ugly as just like a concept and stuff that this is even too much for me. It's just like, oh, I've got all the colors and all the things I don't need to care
That's the
about.
guy who's playing like
anything else.
Phyrexian Devourer and stuff.
Hell yeah. Yeah, this is
that's cool again.
one too much for me. A little just for the hate of this kind of deck. I played a modern challenge last week actually, and I was playing the Soul Sisters deck, and I beat.
Oh, dude, seriously, Callum, you're full of surprises. That's one of the very last decks I would have put you on. Seriously, I didn't even know that was like a deck in modern at this point.
I adore Soul Sisters. It's like the most horrible control deck you've ever faced.
Do you still like win with like a Chinese Pride Mate or something?
No, God, no. Jody Heath did pretty well at the last like big USRC.
Jody Keith is back?
Yeah, he's around, I think.
I remember like a couple of years ago, he said he was going to like, I think Liberia to build
Soul Sisters,
units.
and he
I
came
know,
back
to build units. I don't know which kind of units. And he said he was going to make a lot of money there, like going to Liberia in Western Africa.
But he made life points instead.
Yeah, he's back apparently. Okay,
Yeah,
tell
but
me about the deck.
I think he almost top 8 to the last RC, which made it gain popularity. Like the Londoners, like Francis and stuff, are probably sick of me saying it, but I've loved this deck for years and years. I can't really explain why. It's a soft spot, and I've just absolutely loved it. So every now and then I'll play
Please love life game.
Yeah, but I played against this deck 3 times in a row in the challenge, and I beat it every time with I forgot the name. There's a 3-mana enchantment that at the end of your turn, you either gain a life or you return a 1-drop from your graveyard to play, and you have Karma of False Hope, which is the fog, sack it to fog. So
Don't tell me you won that, right?
oh god, I won all 3 matches like this. They can Leyline binding the enchantment at one point, but you get enough of them. So they at one game they went turn 2 Scion, turn 3 make 2 rhinos, turn 4 make 2 more rhinos, turn 5 make 2 more rhinos. So they had Scion and 6 rhinos that every creature had like lifelink, flying, vigilance, whatever. They were like 80 life, but they conceded with me at 2 life because I kept fogging every turn. So
Dude, I want to see you stream.
I had fun. I had a lot of fun with that. So I don't know. I've just beaten the deck in every format with some bullshit. Yeah.
Okay, you just graduated from, like, I don't know. Actually, that wasn't you, right? The Worldly Tutor, surveil my creature into the graveyard pass.
Yeah, that's a guy called Nick from London.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's just as cool.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, that's enough shitting on Leyline and the Guildpact for one episode.
Okay. Let's see, like, half a year from now when this is dominating Legacy, we're calling for bans. Like, oh my god, can you believe it?
You know what? It could so happen with like one more printing, like another like 5 color removal spell. It's so good. So I should shut up.
Yeah. Maybe, honestly, they probably want some kind of like other payoff. I don't think they need removal that early, like that more often to justify the Leyline.
Maybe.
But yeah.
They
Who
just
knows?
need like a 4 mana, draw 2 cards, and it costs 1 less for each land type you control or something.
Guys, do we jump to actually the Legacy Showcase first? Because we want to talk about the Legacy Showcase and the 25th God of Legacy in Japan. And the Legacy Showcase happened last weekend-ish, and it had 268 players. And holy shit, like, this tournament had like half of the top 8 as Reanimator, or I guess Re-Scaminator, or whatever we call it now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It kind of
came
came out of
that
nowhere.
we saw from... Yeah, isn't it the deck that we kind of saw at Eternal Weekend Europe?
No, that was just black-red, like mostly mono black with the small red splash. This is like the deck has kind of come out very quickly, and it's been picked up by a lot of people because if you just look at the list, you're like, damn, this looks powerful, and it makes so much sense. And I'm still scratching my head how to fight it as other decks. It's
actually blue-black Reanimator.
Yeah.
It's super fast. It's super powerful. It has 2 really individual, super strong plans too, right? So this is basically it plays out like Delve. Like it has like the Delver shell with Daze, Wasteland, Force Will Ponder, Brainstorm.
Do you want to read most of the deck out in case people?
Yeah.
Heard of it?
I'm gonna take the second place deck by Enrico SL.
Yeah.
S91. So this is like we see 16 lands, mostly underground seas, wasteland, undercity sewer, swamp island, a couple of fetch lands. The creatures are 1 Archon of Cruelty, 2 Atraxa Grand Unifier. So those are your bombs. And then you play a Brazen Borrower as a somewhat, hybrid removal spell and creature. Grief, Orcish Bowmaster, and Troll of Khazad-dûm all as play sets. And then you have the instant sorceries 24, Brainstorm, Daze, Entomb, Force Will, Ponder, and Reanimate, all as 4 offs, and then 4 Animate Deaths in addition. And this deck
looks so much like blue-black Reanimator from 15 years ago, almost.
Yeah, it does, but it's somewhat of a hybrid, right? Like it's almost like pre-sideboarded, so that it has both the unfair combo plan, like Reanimator plan, which I think is way stronger in game 1 anyways, but they also squeezed in like the cards that are much stronger post-sideboard, like Orcish Bowmaster, Grief, stuff like that, even the Brazen Borrower. And like what's so good about this deck is that people have such a hard time sideboarding against this deck, right? Like do they go heavily after the graveyard with Leylines and Grafdigger's Cages? Yeah, well, they might then die to like random Orcish Bowmasters or like a Hardcast Grief or something like that, And the crazy part is that in the most sideboards, you also find Murktide Regions, True Nemesis, or Doughty Voidwalkers in addition. So it's really easy for that deck to swap into a regular scam deck.
Yeah, I think a very common thing is to board out the bombs, the Animate Deads, and the Entombs, like in some numbers at least. But you're right, like as the opponent, it's such a small-ish package and such an easy thing to side in and out. Oh, they could just side out like 2 and 2 of them, and even if they're dead, like the black cards pitch to your Griefs and stuff, and then they have the Brainstorms and Ponders to like shuffle these cards away if you have a Leyline or something. It is very, very, very hard to sideboard against. And you don't know that. Like, they could keep it in, or like depends what hate they see game 2. If it goes to a game 3, they're going to switch it up and stuff. And I've lost to the sideboard Doughty Voidwalkers more than any other card as well. It's
Tell me about it.
Julian as well. You've had this. It's just like I fully respect it. And actually, this is any Painter players. This is another big reason to play Pyrokinesis over Fury at the moment in some numbers, because it's better in this matchup because they can't reanimate it themselves. But yeah, and again, like, you can just die to their fair plan so easily game 1. And I've played lots of games against it so far where, you fight this attrition against their griefs, their bowmasters. You kill the first troll that reanimated, and then you're like, oh, I'm okay. And then they just untap and like entomb, reanimate, and Atraxa. And you're like, God damn it. Like, I tried so hard to get here.
Yes.
And the other
I
thing,
almost feel sorry, like, when you tell the story like that.
and they have like 4 days for Wasteland as well. It's like, sometimes you just get wasted out, or you get like double grief turn 1. The play patterns are just all really, really strong, and the deck is, I don't know, it still has a little bit of like a blue deck mid-rangey problem. Sometimes you kind of get chaliced out now and then if you got like the cantrips in hand and stuff, and sometimes you're going to draw like the Dazes and the Wastelands at the wrong time and things, but like those are just normal things. I think this deck is crazy powerful, and we're going to continue seeing it at the top. Because it's so hard to hate out, it's such a robust shell.
Also, this deck might push the actual Delver decks a little more to like tier 2 territory, because imagine if you play Grixis Delver and you play against this. How do we call this deck?
I think it's Blue-Black Reanimator. I would actually call it Blue-Black Reanimator.
Like Scaminator, maybe?
People have been saying Rescaminator, which...
Scaminator.
The word sounds ugly, but it makes sense.
Yeah, but imagine, like, if you're on Grixis Delver and you play against Scaminator, like, isn't that just a terrible feeling when you know that your opponent can always... Like, you can't side out your Force of Wills, right? Like, you just can't.
At the same time, this deck doesn't have much actual removal. So, like, you can count just, like... play the normal Delver plan and be aggressive and counter the last important spells. Like, Reanimate is turned off quite quickly if you're playing aggressive. And then Animate Dead is a 2-mana non-creature, like, so you might play Spell Pierce or something. I could see Delver being a pretty close matchup, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't hate being on the Delver side if I came at least somewhat prepared.
Yeah. I think I'd slightly prefer to be playing Delver against this in the matchup. But if they get an Attraction in play, it's just probably over. Like, they could bounce it maybe. So and the Atraxa being in a deck with Force of Will is so powerful. In the black-red Reanimator decks, you'd be like, okay, well, they're going to get Atraxa or Grezzabrand, they're going to draw loads of discard, and I'm going to have no hand. But if you're a deck that plays to the board, or you still get top decks as like a combo deck sometimes, but here they're going to find like a Force of Will or something very often, and it's hard to beat that setup.
I'm just looking at the deck and I'm trying to figure out which kind of Graveyard hate I actually want against this.
Yeah, so part of the reason why I've been playing the Cauldron deck over Painter is because I thought, okay, Cauldron is main deck Graveyard hate, that's nice. And Cauldron has been exceptional against this deck. Like, it turns off all their reanimates and stuff, and it has won a lot of game 1s. But after sideboard is where I've struggled. I've been trying Leylines again. They've been terrible. I've tried Nihil Spellbombs because I'm like, okay, well, it's a fair deck, so I can recoup the card and, spellbomb them. But I keep playing against this bloody Doughty Voidwalkers, and they turn off the card draw, so you can't even cycle them because it's when it goes to the graveyard, and it's just like. And I've had a game where I've had like a Leyline in play and drawn two of the Spellbombs, and then they just play their like Bowmasters into Hardcast Grief, and then they daze and wasteland you. And it's just like, wow, I feel like an idiot. Nice.
Hey, maybe it's time to go back to Soulguide Lantern. I mean, you can't really recoup the card if you want to use it twice. But
I have two of them in like the red painter lists I'm playing as well. Yeah. The other thing though at the moment is I feel like, I know it sounds pretty obvious when you say it, but the mono black Helm decks must be really well positioned. Surely.
Ooh. Like,
this deck is very popular and very good, and game 1 Graveyard Hate is very good against it if you can get it well. So that deck has Doughty Voidwalker's main as well, which this deck can't kill. It has like, I'm looking at this second place list, it has 1 Brazen Borrower, or it can double Bowmasters them.
Well, I guess I can powder keg it, but that's just
from
like,
a powder keg from the sideboard. But that I'm talking about game 1, and then you have the Leylines as well. And the other decks in the format are all pretty aggressive, so I'd probably look to build Mono Black Helm with like lots of main deck Ensnaring Bridges as well. That feels pretty good to me.
You know what I want? Which card I want against that deck? I want Scavenging Ooze. But I mean, that's not really happening anymore.
That feels so slow. I mean, yeah, it makes sense in like Green Sun decks though. Yeah, this deck pretty.
But I agree.
But touching on this, I think these Scavenging Ooze obviously a little outdated, but I think generally like creatures that also have a built-in anti-graveyard mechanic are absolute worth it. I think like I'm looking at like Knight of I never thought I never thought fucking Jotun Grunt, dude.
Like that would be so bad against them.
Like Knight of Reliquary and what's it called? The Elvish Reclaimer. Like those guys are good, right? Because you don't have to actively bring in graveyard hate. Like you already have graveyard hate in form of creatures, right? And it's never bad to draw them because like, they might also simply raise this deck maybe. But like it just feels really bad if you bring in like a Grafdigger's Cage, for example, or Surgical Extractions, and they end up just not doing anything, right?
Yeah. What do you guys think of Dark Betrayal? Do you know Dark Betrayal?
Help me out again.
It's 1 black instant, destroy target black creature. Do you think that has a place in this format?
Oh, it's like a Doomblade?
Well, it kills like basically every creature in this
only
deck.
want to kill like Troll and Orcish Bowmasters. I don't want to like killing Grief already doesn't feel good. Killing Atraxa, of course, is terrible. And even Archon is just like, eh.
But Dalthi's from the sideboard as well.
Okay.
There's just like for a 1 mana instant, like it kills a ton of these things.
I gotta look at the artwork to make up my mind.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool artwork.
Yeah, it's
like I wish it was like a exile and not destroy, right? Because like destroy against a deck full of like reanimate effects is also like so meh.
Okay, what do you guys think of Exorcist?
Wait, isn't that the like super old card from the Dark or something?
Yeah, I think so. It's white for 1/1 human cleric, and it's 1 white, tap it, destroy target black creature.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's from the Dark. See, I got it.
Nice. Yeah. That has cool artwork.
Yeah.
That card has absolutely atrocious artwork. I can't even believe they actually like Drew Tucker would draw this. Oh my god.
What's the Paladins as well? Like Eastern and Western Paladin?
Oh, Eastern and Western Paladin, dude, those were my absolute nightmare back in school because I would play like green and white decks and they would destroy all my...
No, we went Northern
could not
Paladin.
believe...
Northern Paladin is the white one that destroys a black permanent.
Wait, that exists? I should have known back in school. Nobody told me. They're not from Wizard Saga then.
No, 7th edition.
My life was like all... this one's from...
That's like a cool looking dude. Yeah.
Oh, is this like international collect? Oh, from Alpha even.
Guess who's searched destroy target black creature in Magic Online right now? Not me.
Oh gosh.
But
okay.
Yeah.
So
this deck, I think.
Do you get to see a lot of this in leagues?
Yes. So when I said earlier I've been griefed a lot, like I wasn't talking about being griefed while playing. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of this in leagues.
Right.
I played 2 leagues with this deck myself as well, and it is just really powerful. Like the pivot into whatever you want, graveyard or not dependent, is just. It's just a really strong thing because the opponents would... I would sometimes get it wrong, and opponents would like open with a Leyline or some graveyard hate. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to ponder to find my brainstorm. I'm going to brainstorm back my Entomb, and oh shit, I drew too many reanimation spells. Okay, I'm going to pitch one to a Grief, and then it's just like, okay, well, I've got none of that stuff left now.
You know, Grief should have a thing where you can like pitch 2 cards and then it stays in play.
Get off, Julian. I quit.
Which would be like additional. That would be like additional copies of Reanimator, I guess.
I mean, that's why you don't work at Wizards of the Coast, man. Like,
that's exactly right. Because they don't want the good cards.
I think you would
They're
be
not
like
ready for the good cards.
You'd be the perfect game designer for Modern Horizons 3, I tell you.
Oh, yeah.
3 years ago, younger Callum
no
really
idea.
wanted a blue and white split card. One side with Flusterstorm, one side with Source of Plowshares.
Are you kidding me?
Wait, for 1 mana each?
Yeah. Hire me, Wizards. Hire me. I think that's on par with your idea.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. A couple of years from now, probably like people will be like, why would you ever play that? We got like, I don't know, Swords to Dark Ritual.
Swords to Dark Ritual.
Or what about one side's Dark Ritual, one side's Doomsday?
Dude, I'll play that for sure. I mean, it's probably just called 1 minute Doomsday.
And you can meld it for like
fuse it.
Right?
Yeah. Good
fuse
old
it for 5 total black mana.
Nice.
How cool would that be?
Isn't it like kind of like Dark Petition?
Yeah, maybe.
It is.
Yeah, true.
Oh man,
similar-ish.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay.
People freaked out about this about this card when it came out.
That's why Wizards never invites us to stuff.
Yeah.
Right,
actually, we never tried though, I guess.
What else is in this showcase challenge?
A whole lot of Reanimator, even more Reanimator. 4 in the top 8, and then we got 2 more Grixis Diver. We got Canadian, Druid, we call it now, GG. No Tarmogoyf, no Nimble Mongoose anymore. We got Dragon Stomp in here. I almost dread to click on it because I'm not the biggest fan of that deck. Broadside Bombardiers being good, still think the one of Emrakul in the sideboard, as they often do, and it's the bane of my existence at times. But it's good. That kind of deck, this is like the kind of aggressive deck where this is really good in. Even though I don't really think like there's so much pain that this would probably be warranted.
It's for sure.
Yeah, 4 or 5 color.
Yeah,
what is this?
So
okay.
There's Beanstalk, Modelvers, Dimir Scam. It's apart from the emergence of Rescaminator, the top 16 is quite normal. Another interesting thing I think is until recently we've seen like a real divergence of Rug or Grixis Delver. Like it's been cool. There's both, but I think people are finalizing on Grixis Delver being the one that's a bit better.
No, I don't want to hear that. Dude, I love Rug so much. And I think Kai will back me up on this.
Yeah, let's cut this part of the episode then.
But I think Bowmasters is just a pretty damn good card.
We need AI to make Callum say, okay, it looks like Canadian Threshold is winning the Delver Wars once again, and everybody lived happily ever after. Is that not how it works? Okay.
Nimble Mongoose beats Orcish Bowmasters sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah.
Most
also,
of the time.
like, by the way, look at this Canadian Druid deck, like Duke 12, 2 copies of Soul Guide Lantern on the sideboard. Dude, we just talked about that.
That's cool.
Yeah, the card. Yeah. Honestly, maybe that's one of the best cards you can actually have against Reanimator.
Duke 12 is also like in the top 10 best Magic Online players, so it's always hard to like take away what.
Yeah, of course,
means.
because he listens to this podcast and he plays the cards like just even before we do.
Yeah. Or we talk about them because we see them here.
Yeah. Also, like you look at the sideboard, like this is a ton of sideboard cards I would like absolutely hate to play against, like Carpet, Hydroblast, Meltdown, Pyroblast, like only good sideboard cards. This is like how you build a sideboard. This is how you become a top 10 Legacy Magic Online whatever player.
Yeah.
This is just like so nice.
This has got Daniel Gertschel written all over it because it's got 4 Unholy Heat and 2 Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
Very much so.
On 3 Wastelands.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's Magic Online, but we also had this big paper event, and once again, Kai, I think this time you did not compete. There's a new. Is there a new Emperor? Because of the way these tournaments work, it's like they play this huge Swiss tournament with like in this case like almost like 233 players, and the winner of that tournament then gets to challenge the god and tries to become the next god of Legacy and play Legacy for free, or actually Magic for free in like basically all the stores for like
That's right.
couple of months.
Yep. The current
did the god fall or
no? The current god basically defeated his title, and he can switch his deck basically every time.
This is just like so unfair.
I mean,
I'm loving it. A god should be favored, of course. Yes,
but he has to submit the deck list before he sees the results of this of this tournament, right?
Okay.
So he
don't get to go absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so he doesn't really know what he plays against, right? But yeah, this was rather huge. 233 players, and we had a pretty wild mix of decks. I think the top 8 is like all different decks, like, you know, Reanimator, Death and Taxes, Cascade Crush, Rock Delver, Storm, Beanstalk, Sultai, Dark Depths, and Wizard Oracle.
Okay, can you tell me, is that some kind of Doomsday deck?
Dude, I wish it was. You know, I wish it was. And when I saw that deck title, I immediately thought that's like some Thought Lash, the One Ring, Chalice of the Void Stompy kind of deck, but it is not. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably the craziest, among the craziest decks we've talked on this podcast, because we're gonna talk about this deck. It has 21 creatures, and this deck does not win with combat damage. It does not, and a third of this deck is creatures. So you have 22 lands. It's mono blue, 10 islands, Cavern of Souls, mostly for wizards because every creature in this deck is a wizard. And then we have Otawaras, Oboro, and Minamo, and 4 wastelands. And the creatures are as follows. So we have 4 Thassa's Oracle. This is a combo deck, right? I have to emphasize, this is a combo deck despite the high creature count.
Callum, what do you think? Do you think this is a combo deck? This is a combo deck. We've heard it a couple of times. I think this is a combo deck.
It's combo like in the way that like Paint is a combo deck. I think it could win in a mid-rangey way as well.
No, it doesn't. It does not win with beatdown.
Dude, I mean, okay, fine.
Look at those creatures. They're so bad.
Fine. But like, I think
there's a 0-1.
Right, it's a combo deck. You probably win with Thassa every game, but you like lock people out with Patron Wizard.
We play Pauper staple Faerie Seer.
Yep. literal. That's insane, right? Like 1 mana, 1/1 flying when an ETB Scry 2. That's it.
Yeah, Surveil Lands, get out of
reprinted
here.
in Jumpstart. Yeah. And so we got that. We got good old Spellstutter Sprite.
Love it.
My girl, ETBs, counter target spell. I don't have to explain Spellstutter, right? What the fuck?
No, you don't.
Yeah. And then we have, and this is probably like the core creature of this entire deck. It's the Patron Wizard. And I'm a little mind blown because I thought this card is legendary because it looks really legendary.
It looks like this famous actor, but I can't really put a name on him.
Johnny Depp?
No, but keep going. Definitely not Johnny Depp. What the fuck? Okay, people, like we're gonna ask in Discord, on Discord, like which actor does this guy remind you of?
Triple blue, 2/2, a rare from Odyssey. Tap and untap wizard you control, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. So every creature in your deck basically can daze an opponent's spell, right? And then you play a couple of one-offs like Baron, Tolarian Archmage, which can like bounce something and you get to draw a card. Miss Meadow Vanisher, which I don't even know what it does. Becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner control at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, that's cool. And then the Ingenious Prodigy, that's like a blue X 01 Wizard with Skulk, and it got printed in the Eldraine set like a few weeks ago, I think.
So how do you actually use this Ingenious Prodigy?
So it's an 01 with Skulk, and it ETBs with X +1/+1 counters, and again, like the cost is 1 blue and X. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if the Ingenious Prodigy has 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove a +1/+1 counter from it, and if you do, you draw a card. So this
kind
is
of like a one-sided Holding Mine.
It's kind of like a Dark Confidant, of sort. And again, Skulk doesn't matter because this deck, again, I'm gonna say it again, like this deck does not attack and kill opponents with creatures, right?
I'm playing a league and sending you every screenshot where I win with damage.
Dude. So this deck, basically what it does is, I'm also gonna go through the instant sorceries. Force of Will, Stifle, Step through, because we have a lot of wizards, and Paradigm Shift, and then we have Aether Vials, because this is a creature deck. And so what this deck does is, it basically, plan A is make sure that your opponent doesn't play Magic, right? Patron
Okay,
Wizard.
you got Wasteland as well. Okay.
Yeah, like you Wasteland and Stifle a little bit, and then you get all your creatures out via Aether Vial or with your Million Islands. And the more creatures you have on the board, the better Patron Wizard becomes. So like you don't actively try to trade creatures with your opponent. You don't attack because you might run into like endurance or something. You just almost always stay back with your dudes. And at some point, your opponent just cannot resolve a meaningful spell, right? Because it gets taxed so much by all these like ridiculous wizards. And once you're in a spot where you can't really resolve a spell, that's when the paradigm shift kicks in, and this deck can easily has like devotion to blue up to like 12 or 15 sometimes. So like you can paradigm shift mid game and on turn 7, 8, or 9 maybe, and you can still combo out on the same turn because you have such a high devotion to blue.
What if we play Master Waves and Nykthos as well?
Take us all the way back to Proper Dublin 2014.
Like mono blue devotion.
Yeah, exactly. This deck is very, very, very cool though, isn't it?
I just figured out what actually makes this deck work. Because, we just talked about Step Through, and you know how Step Through actually bounces 2 creatures?
Does it?
Yeah.
You can bounce 2 of your Faerie Seers and replay them for extra 2 scries.
God.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's disgusting, right?
Yeah, that's
how could
that's
wizards
gross.
not see that interaction?
I can't believe it.
Yeah, definitely broke it.
GG.
They probably made.
Okay.
I think they made Orcish Bowmasters just to try and keep this deck down.
Yeah.
Right. But that being said, like, this player like Chiba Tatsuya, like I saw his Swiss record, and he played against a lot of Bowmaster decks. So he did, and
that's fair.
all these wizards, like most of them have toughness 1.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like, Orcish Bowmaster just does not resolve, really. Like,
I would say additionally,
It also
like,
doesn't matter all that much.
it doesn't really matter. It'll kill one thing sometimes, but like this deck doesn't draw extra cards, so it's not like that big of a deal.
exactly. Yeah.
Also, what are we doing with Minamo? Because we get to untap target legendary permanent. Like, do we untap our Oboro? Like, what's happening
You
there?
can
No,
untap
yeah.
Baron with a Patron Wizard and play and force back twice.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
the one thing I saw, but okay.
I think that's it.
I mean, that's pretty good. Yeah. Also, like I saw it.
I don't know about pretty good, but
I mean, we saw it on camera. I think it was like the semifinals where opponent attacked with like I had like a frustration attack with Orcish Bowmaster and the Orc Army token, and Baron got untapped and
Really?
just blocked the Orc. Yeah,
That's-
casually.
That's sick.
combat tricks for us.
I guess you get to like double days out of nowhere if you like flash. Oh no, Baron doesn't have flash. Oh no, never mind. I guess you gotta Aether Vial it in. Oh yeah, Aether Vial is back in full force. Okay, four copies. I was wondering, how does this deck ever beat Goblins? But you know what? 3 Stifle, and then we got like I don't know.
Hydroblast and Cage in the sideboard.
I mean,
Yeah.
you beat him with Ensnaring Bridge, right? That's what this deck. This is so hilarious. Like it has 21 creatures in the main deck, and it has Ensnaring Bridges in the sideboard. Like this deck just does not give a shit about combat, dude. I'm telling you.
That's fair.
This deck is like the most. Yeah,
I love 2 of the sideboard choices.
Wizards are just not meant for war. Really.
Mages of the Moon and Phyrexian Censor. Phyrexian Censor, for those that know, it's like a 3-mana silenced away. It's 2 and a white for a 3/3 Phyrexian Wizard, so you can step through for it. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-Phyrexian spell each turn.
Oh, that's so smart.
And non-Phyrexian creatures enter the battlefield tapped. So you can step through cycle for either a Magus or the Censor to slow combat decks down.
Yep.
I love these.
Totally. Yeah.
This
Fortifications.
also, like, it's also so smart because if your opponent can only ever play 1 spell each turn, then you get to like basically like counter everything they play
Patron
on their
Wizard
turn
counts everything.
because of Patron Wizard. Like it's great synergy there.
I'd
Yeah.
almost love to see the Censor main deck, but I don't know. The thing is, the only way to get these two into play is with Cavern or Aether Vial, I believe. So,
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
but
Also, again, I think Orcish Bowmaster is also not that good versus this deck, maybe because it doesn't really draw many cards.
Yeah, Callum mentioned that, right? That's like the main thing. I guess the only way to draw extra cards is Ingenious Prodigy.
Right.
And That's pretty much it. Like, how does this deck actually remove creatures? I guess you got Baron, you got Otavara, then Dismembers of the sideboarding. That's something like that. My pronunciation of Otavara was on point, right?
It was pretty much on point. Yeah, 90 points.
I'm already like off to Japan. Like,
Yeah, but so to give a little more context about this deck, look, the player did not pick up this deck because he thought it's like a good metagame choice or anything like that. He just likes wizards. Okay, that's the whole story, and that's what happens in Legacy sometimes. That sometimes someone has a fringe deck, and like at some point they're gonna run hard. Everyone has that type of tournament sometimes.
I just like wizards. Imagine like playing for top 8 and somehow you didn't see what the guy was playing. Then like they sit down, they go like turn 1 Faerie Seer, turn 2 Ingenious Prodigy, turn 3 Patron Wizard. You're like, oh my god, am I not going to top 8?
disgusting.
Yeah.
They curve out.
Yeah. Also, people were not ready to see Ensnaring Bridge, really. Like,
I can see that,
Ensnaring
yeah.
Bridge won so many games just because people didn't anticipate that card from a deck with so many creatures,
Yeah, I want to see Callum win with Ensnaring Bridge. I guess, once again, that's where Faerie Seer comes in, because you can draw your card, then attack with Faerie Seer and play the card, GG. Opponent can't attack once again.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Okay, so you already figured this out. This is the deck of at least a week, but what else is there? Because Japan never fails to disappoint. I see something like almost Maverick-esque in the first place.
Yeah. That was the winner. That was also the final, right? The Wizard Oracle Tribal versus Dark Depths, and it was actually a quite challenging and interesting game. I think it went all the way to the game 3, where the Depths deck eventually outgrinded the Wizard deck. If it's more powerful creatures, but yeah, this is like a Dukes on Twitch deck. Seriously,
Very much so.
Yeah,
I saw him actually post about that.
He's already 5-0'd and streamed it and posted about it.
Oh, dude, awesome! Really,
Yeah,
everything about this deck list reminds me
Absolutely.
of him. Like Legolas Quick Reflexes, Once Upon a Time, Mox Diamond, Shadow Sphere, Outland Liberator. Good cards.
There's a new card in the sideboard that I've seen pop up in actually like 4-color control decks as well. People should be aware of. It's Doorkeeper Thrall. It's 1 white for a 1/2 flash flying. Artifacts and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. So like having this ability is not new to the format. There's like fucking like 10 2-mana white creatures that stop this ability, but this one has flash, which is pretty relevant. So I think this card could see a lot of sideboard play as like a 1 or a 2 of in random smattering of decks. So got to keep that card in mind.
It's probably a reaction to like the rise of Faerie Seer in the meta game. So.
Yeah, totally true. I mean, it stops the Oracle if they're not going to win with combat. Like, yeah,
It does. Yeah.
yeah.
Not bad. Yeah, and so Yanagi Toya with Dark Depths, with Celestia Depths, ended up facing the current God of Legacy, right? Who chose the blue-black Reanimator, like Scaminator deck, as the deck we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we had really a lot of interesting games.
Well.
So like the first two pre-board games, Dark Depths got like crushed really quickly by those fast Atraxas and fast Archon of Cruelties. But then in game 3, post sideboard, it got a little more interesting because the Reanimator package became much weaker against the Elfish Reclaimers and Night of Reliquaries, and plus also Fairy Macabres, you know.
And
two more copies of Endurance.
Yeah,
you're exactly right. So it wasn't like it wasn't like an all-in combo anymore, and it had to grind. And guess what? Like grinding against Endurance, Elfish Reclaim, and Night Reliquary, not really that easy, I think.
Yeah. If you give them time, they get to do like the disgusting Flagstones thing and stuff, and they eventually just pull ahead.
Exactly, and that's what happened in game number 3. But it looked so difficult because the depth deck needs to, like, they have to take so many mulligans, right? They have to always respect a potential turn 2-3 Atraxa or Archon of Cruelty out of nowhere, but then they also have to keep a hand that's somewhat strong enough against multiple, I don't know, Doughty Voidwalkers or like a Murktide Regent. It's tough, man. It's tough. And the third game was almost in favor of the Dark Depths, but in the super late game, Archon came down like finally after the Bojuka Bok got already used, and it went south. But
Archon is just
really
like
interesting
the
deck.
one piece in that deck that feels like it beats all the bad matchups. Like lands would be amazing against this deck if it wasn't for that one Archon. I think it's just Archon's a hell of a card. What do you think of this Storm deck, Kai, in 4th place?
Oh, dude, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
As a non-Storm, it just looks all over the place. Like, but I don't understand it. But it looks cool.
Yeah, I think like every time a Storm deck does well in Legacy, I'm a little bit, you know, like the Storm Kai is kind of like
yeah, he's still there.
It has changed a lot though. Like we almost always talk about like 15 up to 16 lands, including like Boseiju in the main deck because you have Wishclaw Talismans, and this deck has a lot of tutors. It has 8, like 4 Infernal Tutors, 2 Wishclaws, and 2 Besiege the Mirrors, and then ad nauseum. Both Gaia's Will and Pass in Flames.
Okay.
And and then
a Grape Shot in the main.
And also Grape Shot and Tendrils. I think Grape Shot is actually a good card to play right now because if Scam is so good, then more people might pick up Veil of Summer. So
that's fair.
I don't know.
As just a way to clear the board and buy more time. Sometimes I could see it come up. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like the fair Grape Shot, 3 Ponders. Got to fit all these 2 tutors in somehow.
Right, exactly. Maybe, yeah. Like, you know, like back in the old days, you only had like 4 tutors, like the Infernal Tutor, and then you had a bunch of Preordains and Ponders and whatnot. Yeah. But I think these days you have to go a little faster sometimes, and get your business built right on time, right? So that's where we see it. Oh, Kahira is in the sideboard.
I was going to say, this is one of my favorite sideboard setups, is the Kahira and Force of Vigor. It's such a nice thing.
I feel like poor Kahira. She never gets to do the thing, you know.
Do you think...
Finally, I get to get used. Yeah, you get pitched.
You get pitched.
Do you think you'd reveal Kahira game 1 with this deck? Like, if your opponent has no idea what you're playing? Probably not.
You don't really need it in the first game, do you? Right?
No, like it's a creature you could play, but it's not worth it. I think. But then game 2, you'd reveal it if you would. Maybe you don't even still if you don't board in the Force of Vigors. I guess it depends on the matchup a lot.
The thing is, like, even if you don't board in the Force of Vigors, you still reveal it for game 2 because they already know what you are.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
most of the time at least.
I guess they could like know that you don't have a Xantid Swarm or something. I don't know. That card's
you know
probably
what?
not existing anymore anyway.
Kahira's so disgusting because you can either pitch Kahira to force a vigor, or you can sack it to Besiege of the Mirror. God, poor Kahira. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
She's just pitched or sacrificed. The
She's
noble
very good
cat
at guarding the orphans.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. I have like pee in my eyes right now. Oh my goodness, dude.
Poor Kahira.
Poor Kahira.
Hey, some
She's
people
such
play
a
her
lovely
with
artwork,
like.
but hey.
She's played in Modern and appreciated there. She's got like the Furies and the Solitudes to pump up.
Yeah. But yeah. But all in all, I think I'm super stoked about this top 8 and also top 16 deck list from Japan, and maybe in comparison to the Magic Online Showcase results, like this kind of still shows the big difference, right, between like a paper tournament and a Magic Online tournament, right?
It so exemplifies the differences.
Right. Like there's still a couple of blue-black like Scaminator decks especially in top 16. Can't deny that, but people just end up playing whatever they want or whatever cards they have in their collection, right?
Yeah, there's some other cool things like there's 2 Death and Taxes. They're both like they both have the red splash for like Magus and Pyroblast in the sideboard. Green for only one has green for Galactique in the sideboard, and then both have black in the main deck for Bowmasters, Thoughtseize, and one Opposition Agent, I think. So this is one where like XJ of course has been like trailblazing it with Luanil and stuff, but I think there's a lot of D&T players that kind of like arrived at blue-black base, and then you can actually splash little bits and pieces for the sideboard like Magus and Galactique. So it's cool to see that doing well in top 8 and then one in 9th as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to go to Japan. Like this day at work, my colleague and I, we were talking about like what our plans are for this year. And you know what she's actually doing? She wants to go to Albania.
Yeah.
Because Albania is not in the European Union yet. And I know I'm like totally pivoting to a completely different point as this podcast episode comes to an end. But she said like, oh my God, she heard like Albania is going to like become part of Europe in like a year or two of the European Union. And she and her boyfriend, they want to explore like basically places that are not as touristy yet, which is like kind of cool, right? So they basically, like a lot of people, they would scan like, okay, which countries are in the European Union? Okay, where it's gonna be easy. And she's like, no, oh my God, I'm like, she's almost getting FOMO of experiencing the real Albania before the European Union comes in, kind of. So that's, so anyway, and I was saying, you know what, like if I wanted to go for my big plans, it would be Japan. And if I wouldn't go for big plans, it would be probably anything else pretty much. And now,
what about Wigan?
Once again,
Wigan or London?
Oh, dude, Wigan, like I talked about the big plans, right? That's
the biggest
part
plan.
of those. That's the biggest plan. Wigan is always the biggest plan. The biggest plan. Wigan kebab. Dude, legend.
Wigan.
Legend.
Wigan and Wigan.
Digging it up in Wigan. That's the next podcast. Cool.
Yeah.
Guys, what are you up to? I hear you both are playing a lot more Magic again, and I recently played Blue Black Mill, another league we almost 4-1.
Nice.
Ended up 3-2. I think there's a couple of more Blue Black Mill streams coming in over the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how that works out. It's kind of hilarious, right? Whenever I play Blue Black Mill, it's not that crazy anymore to go like 3-2 with it. But that part of that is also that people get like really like greedy. And some of the control decks that don't play endurance, it's actually hilarious how much they get crapped on by the crabs. Yeah. Anyway,
I've got a exciting holiday coming up. So apart from I know I said it already, but I'll be away for like 2.5, about 3 weeks from Thursday evening. So yeah, maybe you guys have to talk between yourselves next one.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
You can chat all the shit about me.
We will.
You know, we always have like private conversations. Like I randomly just call Kai, like, you know, and then we talk in German. Kai, weißt du, der Callum, der hat ja so einen Kartoffelkopf, das ist unglaublich. And then we talk like big shit about you, like very much.
Yeah. I expect nothing less, and I hope nothing less.
Awesome. So everybody, thank you so much for supporting our shit talking. By the way, I wanted to make this very quick. Some of you recently had to quit your podcast subscription on Patreon, and like you never, even though I appreciate that some of you did, you never, ever have to write me a message and tell me why you have to quit. I really appreciate it, but never feel obligated to ever do that, because even if you supported in the past and you don't do it anymore, you already are in like the top 1% of supporters of the podcast in that way, because you did that. So never ever feel obligated to ever tell me why? So just like do it. It's really no problem. And with that, that was already way longer than I wanted to make it. Thank you so much, everybody, for supporting our tiny little project here. Especially our Eternal Witness tier supporters: Kane, Colin Garassi, Alex Crow, Tim Everett, Testacular, Sebastian Holaga, Guillaume, Sean Dewey, Francis Pauper, Cassandra Davis, Dylan Shoemaker, Retro Scherer, Tom Zischka, Benedikt Gruber, and Severin Schmarzhuber. And our top Faerie Seer supporters:
Yay!
Scott Monroe, Evan Lazar, Tom Hepp, Ian Seifert, and Colonoscopy. Thank you so much. You guys have a great time skiing. Let me know how it goes. And Kai, you just seriously play Doomsday and take down 4 seasons. It's gonna be easy. Trust me.
That easy.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.